It's easy to dismiss as just being a toddler, but with ADHD, these behaviors are more frequent, more intense, and persist over time. If it's affecting their relationships or their development, it's really worth looking into.
Rizwana Dudhia is an advanced practitioner and pharmacist.
With over a decade of experience in mental health,
her primary focus has been on supporting individuals with learning disabilities and autism.
When I do ask about family history, a lot of mums and dads have said, now that I'm thinking about it, after doing my child's pre-assessment forms, I see a lot of the traits in myself. So I think there is something there within myself, but obviously it was never diagnosed.
What's the first step if I think my child has ADHD?
In my professional opinion, I would start by...
Hi, Rizwana. So good to have you here. So lately, a lot of parents have been wondering, should I get my child assessed for ADHD? Such a tough call sometimes.
Right. If you're wondering whether to get your child assessed, it usually means that you've already noticed something that might feel or seem a bit different or might be a bit challenging. Maybe it's their attention span, doing things out of impulse, constantly moving around, or maybe you're just sensing something that's not quite clicking for them or it's not typical behavior as to what we see children experience these days, especially compared to their peers. An assessment isn't about labeling your child, it's just about understanding them a little bit better and getting the right support for them and what's needed. It can actually be a huge relief. So if your gut is telling you that something is up, it's definitely worth exploring.
Is there any way for parents to tell if their child might have ADHD?
ADHD can look really different from child to child, but there are some things really important you should be looking out for. So you might notice that your child struggles to sit still, talks nonstop, sometimes acts without thinking, has a hard time focusing, loses things or forgets things all the time. But it's not just about being busy or spirited. These behaviors can show up across lots of different settings. So at home and at school, and it tends to affect their daily life. So the key is consistency and impact. So it's really important to remember that ADHD is not episodic, meaning it's quite consistent, it's quite trait-like, and it should be kind of experienced across lots of different environments, not just because of triggers. So not because they're acting out when they're feeling a little bit upset or got into trouble or anything like that. It's present in most environments during the day at most of the time. If you're unsure, it's really important to speak to a professional who can help you make sense of what you might think you're seeing.
Is ADHD the reason why some children forget everything?
It can be, and one of the key features of ADHD is challenges with working memory. That's like the brain's post-it note, would you call? So kids with ADHD might forget instructions like going upstairs and having to brush their teeth and put pajamas on and get into bed. They might only remember one or two of these things when you've given them three things to do. They might lose their lunch boxes, water bottles, pens, pencils, etc., leave their jumpers at school, all the little day-to-day things we see as normality, they might just be careless mistakes. And it's not about being laziness or even being careless, it's about their brain just processing and retaining information a little bit differently to the general population. So, really helping them build routines, using visual reminders, having structure in place, or just giving one instruction at a time can really help.
Another question that comes up a lot. Is ADHD a result of bad parenting?
Absolutely not. No, no, no. ADHD is a neurodevelopmental condition and it is not a reflection of any kind of parenting style. That said, parenting a child with ADHD can be more challenging because the typical strategies don't always work. But the idea that ADHD is caused by poor parenting is really outdated and really unhelpful, and um, it's not going to help you to get anywhere with the support and the treatment that your child needs. So what really matters is learning the strategies that work with your child's brain, not against it, and incorporating them into the whole family's daily lifestyle and routines and adhering to them and making sure your child is needs are catered to in the best possible way.
Could you elaborate on what it's really like to live with a child who has ADHD?
It can be wonderful and intense, and sometimes both at once. So, children with ADHD can be incredibly fun, imaginative, full of energy, But it can also be draining when you're faced with constantly managing impulsivity, overwhelming emotions, and struggling to sleep. So that's why routines can feel really hard to stick to, and small things can turn into big battles. But it's all about us understanding their brain and adjusting their expectations. And like I said in the previous question, just catering to their needs, but also making sure that you're looking after yourself in the process.
How do I support my partner with ADHD?
This is in relation to parenting support. So, having a partner with ADHD can be more of a juggling act. So, you might be managing household or routines more than you expected. So, it really helps to have an open, non judgmental conversations about how their ADHD shows up and what you both need to feel supported. Clear roles, visual reminders, shared calendars, etc. Just making sure that you're together as a team to help your child and support your child and get through it together. It's important that you both have a good understanding of what the child needs from both of you in different aspects. So, mothers tend to give that love, kindness, support in terms of helping them deal with their emotions, whereas dads can help them to utilize all that energy that comes in those bursts and help them to utilize it in the right ways, like sports and going out and doing like boisterous things or outdoorsy things, etc. It really just depends on the individual child, what their needs are, and how mum and dad can act as a team and help them both together.
Is ADHD hereditary?
Yes, there is a strong genetic link. If a child has ADHD, it's very likely that a parent or a close relative also has it, diagnosed or not. In my experience, I have seen a lot of assessments where children are being assessed. And when I do ask about family history, a lot of mums and dads have said, now that I'm thinking about it, after doing my child's pre-assessment forms, I see a lot of the traits in myself. So I think there is something there within myself, but obviously it was never diagnosed. Um, it's really common, and sometimes the whole family can understand themselves a little bit better once they have more of an understanding of what the condition is.
How does ADHD actually look like at home compared to when they're at school?
You might see more emotional outbursts like power struggles, tantrums, or difficulty with routine. Whereas at school, it might show up as inattention, fidgeting, disruptive behavior, or the opposite, sometimes being so quiet and reserved that you're just zoning out or daydreaming. Some kids hold it together at school and then kind of burst it all out at home, and that's called masking, and that can be very exhausting for them. The differences in settings can be really helpful to understand how the child is coping overall. So it's really, really important to note down what the observations are in both. It's easy to dismiss as just being a toddler, but with ADHD, these behaviors are more frequent, more intense, and persist over time. If it's affecting their relationships or their development, it's really worth looking into.
So if a parent thinks their child might have ADHD, what's the first step they should take?
In my professional opinion, I would start by gathering your observations. What are you noticing? When does it happen? How often does it happen? And how is it affecting your child's daily life? Then speak to your child's teacher or to your GP or another healthcare professional that you trust and ask them their opinion. You can ask for a referral for an ADHD assessment, but if you're going private, find a really good, reputable clinician who specializes in these assessments and who have good reviews so that you know that your child will be well looked after. The key is to get a really full picture so you can plan support that works. When we do our assessments, we rely heavily on collateral information. So, information from friends, family, school teachers, and parents will really help to get a full picture as to what the child presents with at home and at school and in other environments.